Greetings, everybody. My brothers and sisters in the house, I salute you all. Today is going to be a special program concerning Edo history, concerning the Edos. Our brother imasuen Izoduwa will be joining us any moment from now. I promise you it's going to be very interesting program today. Today we are going to be talking about I'm having some little problem with my brother, you can come in. You can call me through Facebook video call here so that I can bring you in, and let's start. Yeah, my brother, you can call on video call so that I can bring you in so that we can start. I think the internet is trying to focus up, but you know the wounded civilian will not allow that. So my brother, you are here. You can call me through video call here so that I can bring you in. You will see the sign of the video call here so that you can come in. Just press it, and it's like you are sending a request to join me here, and I will accept you. Then we'll start. You see, this is our brother that is about to join us now. we are in his feed. He specializes in this when it comes to the story of the past, what happened in the past. This our brother, I call him the lion when it comes to Bini story or history. Call it history if you like. You don't know how to eat, and because I have sent you. No, I'm not saying it. Let me. I'm not saying it. This how. Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you here. Okay. Let me see. Let me picture it here so that I can show you the way it will look like. Let's see. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay. Okay, let's go. So, my brother, you this let's say it is like this, just like this. So you're going to send me a request here, this place, this very place. You're going to send me the request here. Just type this place, and I will see the sign here, and I will bring you in this very place. Just type that place, and I will accept it here, and you join us. So that's it. Immediately, once our brother send us request here and we'll see it, then we continue. We are still expecting him. Or let me see if I can uh, bring him myself. Okay, let me see. Okay. Okay, our brother's about to join us. That will start. Okay, I think he's with us now. Thank God. The devil is a liar. We can't be planning to talk about our Edo. The internet will be fucking up. Alternate, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Domo.
You are welcome to the program. We are very happy, my brothers and sisters here. We have been expecting you. You know, once I inform them you are coming to the program, I can feel people were very happy because they know in this feed when it comes to Edo history, the Benin, you are the lion. You don't add to it. You don't sugarcoat it. You say the way it is. And you always tell people if you don't like what you are doing, they should come and debate you. So I'm very happy you are here. Please, can you please introduce yourself so that we can start?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, sir. I'm very humbled to be on your platform.
Very humble.
Be able to show or discuss some aspects of our history with our people. Um, My name is imasuen izoduwa, and I'm an historian by passion. I do historian. Just a minute. My light is having problem.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Yeah, no problem. So our brother said his light is having some, problem. He wants to go and, take care of it. Today, like I said, is going to be a very special day, it's a very special program. We are going to be talking about so many things today concerning the Beninese, especially those of the people that gang up against us. We don't really know the reason why. People just feel like ganging up against us. They tell their story, they link it to us, and still they said we are not good to them. We are bad, we are evil, we are this, we are that. You tell your story, you link it to us. And at the same time, you are saying we are bad. So those are the kind of questions I want to ask him today. I'm somebody that believe in. I believe we are all equal. That one is very clear. We are all equal. The Edo man is not greater than Igbo man. Igbo man is not greater than Shekiri. Shekiri is not greater than Fulani. Fulani is not greater than Hausa. Hausa is not greater than Ibira man. That is what my own belief. I believe God created every tribe. I don't believe in migration and say Yoruba man will leave this place, travel to some distance in land, and begin to speak another language. I don't believe that. I believe God, Baba God himself, created all language, all these languages, all these tribes in Nigeria. He created us the way he wanted. No, you can't be a Edo man, leave Edo and go to Shekiri and begin and go and be speaking in Shekiri and be just, impossible. I believe, I'll ask my brother this question. I believe, they said we are all brothers and sisters because some group of people will leave this place and go and join some group of people somewhere. Or, like a lot of kings a lot of kings or prince and
Sorry.
princess. Okay, my brother.
Apologize.
My brother, you have to kind of high your voice so that we can hear you clearly.
Okay.
Okay. My brother, let us start. You understand me? Because the people here, they are really, happy seeing you here with us. And we really, I am very happy. I'm very happy, very, very happy that you are here with us today. So, my brother, the first question I would like to ask, the very first, we the Edus, we were once called Igodomigodo, right?
Yes.
We were once called, the land was, once called Idu land, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know if I know you know, a lot of tribe now. I have seen some Asian people said, hey, the Idu is also their ancestor. Igbo claim, everybody's just claiming Idu, they are the Idu. Some people from Igbo land saying Idu was a woman. So I'm somebody that is trying to tell people, look, what is Idu? If you are the owner of Idu, take it and leave Edus alone. You can spoil our story. So I want you to just analyze that Idu, because some people like Igbo man claim you, or Igbo people claim Idu, for instance. How possible is that? Idu, how did you speak another language there? If we, the Edos, we said Idu is our ancestor, from Idu to Igodomigodo to Edu, one language. You can't be from Idu and you are speaking Igbo. I don't know. So I want to ask you to just analyze it. Why they are claiming Idu, Robo claim Idu, the other one claim Idu. So, my brother, the floor is yours.
All right, Aaron. Thank you very much, Mr. Wounded Civilian. Well, when you are big, you are big. Everybody in the entire world wants to claim your history because you have history. It's only the Edo people that genuinely have an history that is not laden with lies and propaganda and fallacy. Our history is unique, is real, it's something you can connect with. So that is why at every point of our history, all of our neighboring tribes have been trying to connect to our history because they don't have an history of theirs to connect to. So some, at the beginning of our history, during the very genesis of how we started as a people, that's when you had Paidu. So I heard that the Igbo people are claiming that they are also, Idu is one of their own songs and all of that. They were passing through Edo land and all of that. I'm quite very aware of that. Just like at one point in history, the Yorubas are also claiming that Oduduwa is also theirs. So we shouldn't be sad about that. We should either be very appreciative to God Almighty and our ancestors who has given us so much rich history that all our so-called majority neighbors who brags at all times that they have numbers, they have more states. All right, one thing that keeps tying them to this minority, the so-called minority tribe that they call the Edo tribe, is our history. They don't have what we have as an ethnic group, and that is why they want to try and connect to our history. And what will a usurper do? A usurper will always want to come and say that instead of to show the envy, that they envy the true owner of those history, they want to try and usurp the history for themselves. Well, Idu is the most prominent Edo man that history can remember. He was not the very first, because in folklores, in folktales, in songs and parables, we're able to interpret the history of so many years ago. We're not talking about the history of the Obas of Benin. We're not talking about the history of the Ogisos of Benin. This is an history that dates centuries of years back, before the eras of the Ogisos, before the eras of the Obas. So this is probably the very beginning of our history. That is when you talk about the Idu history. All right? The Idu, it's an Edo word, or it's an Idu word, it's an Igodo word, it's an Obinin word that means the beginning. You see it very prominent in almost all our day-to-day activities. Idunwe Igbo, Idunwe Olia, the heart, the beginning. And all of that. But don't also forget that it is part of the extant history of the Edo people through songs that so that means the Benin people remembers that even the Idu himself, that we now call our progenitor, was also given birth by earliest Edo sons and daughters that some, because of the history is too old, we can no longer be able to remember. If someone has to start the history of a people, but that does not mean he was the first person that came out. So Idu became very prominent because of what he contributed to the Edo land, and that is why we now literally refer to him as our progenitor. But Edo has already been established hundreds of years even before the birth of Idu. But the history remembers that it is Ogbe, it is Alaka, where we now call Ogbe Alaka. There's a shrine. It is at that territory that Idu was born. Well, I've also gone through the fact that what Idu means the beginning, the heart of a something. So you had prominent words like Idu, Iduen, Iduen Yoto, Iduen Ubekun. You know, it's the heart, the beginning. Anywhere, economic the heart. All right. Sorry about the network. It's like a heart of a matter. It's like a heart of a something. That's what the Benin calls Idu. All right. Now, Idu had, at the time, what brought Idu into prominence was because of some environmental troubles that our land faced. All right, an environmental trouble. In short, it is the entire world that had that issue. The word historians call it the post-Adamic cataclysm, the flood that took half of the entire world. The Edo people also had that flooding issue. So because we are quite very close to the shoreline, we needed to move up north, somewhere a bit far off from where the water, the flood can wash us off from the surface. We moved up north. So around a present location we now called Kogi, it was the Idu man that led every other people in our locality to a present location, a present place now that is now believed to be Kogi State. All right. He moved every other tribes that was also looking to survive, whether as Igbos or whether as Yorubas that were in present-day southern Nigeria, also moved to that place. And they conjointly named that place Uhe. Uhe. All right? The Idu was the leader of the Edo group. The people now regarded as the present-day Edo people led us to a place. We now referred to that place as Uhe. In there, he gave birth to 3 sons and 4 daughters. He had 7 children. In there, he died. He was buried. All right, he became the very first leader of every other tribes. So the place that we settled, we now referred historically as Uhe. We were not the only people who stayed there. Every other tribe also came there. And that became like a melting pot of a civilization. Because a melting pot of other civilizations, we moving there, other tribes moving there. So it now became a multi-ethnic society. Led the first ruler of the leader of all of these tribes was Idu. A shrine was built for him, and a shrine was built for him there that the Edo people worshipped him. He died there and was buried. And a chief, a sort of a priest, was chosen to propitiate the holiness of Idu. And that priest is what we call Azama. All right. But after our father, our now progenitor, died, his children, most especially his 3 sons, Aka, Efa, Emehi, all right, started to have troubles with every other ethnic groups, most especially other ethnic groups that leadership that were not in control, because the first people to have a leader that ruled the entire Uhe people was the Edo people. It was rotational. After the Edo people, it moved to other tribes. So, but those other tribes envied us. So they made Uhe unbearable for the children of Paidu. They had no choice that they had to return back to their original home. Get it very clearly. A lot of people have made this mistake, generally saying that we came from Kogi. No, we were always from here. God created us right here in our land. Only that at one point in history, we moved. All right? The contingency group that moved, not all of them returned. It was the sons of these people who moved initially and eventually returned. after the flood issue had subsided. So they moved back. When they moved back, some died on the way, like Aka, the first son of Paidu. It is the Aka that the earliest Urobo people came from. The Uobos are direct descendants of Aka. All right, but Aka died on the way, and other two sons, Efa and Emei, got back to this land where we now call Benin City. Got here, and the first place they were able to settle was at the Ikpoba Hill. All right, they settled at present-day Ikpoba Hill, and looking at the beautiful Ikpoba River and the Ogba River, they called the land of their ancestors a place of heavenly pageantry. And that in an ancient Edo language, it is called Ubini. Ubini means in ancient Edo language, a place of heavenly, a beautiful place, a place of heavenly pageantry. Let no man deceive you. Ubini as a word was already in existence hundreds of years before we were later also called Igodomigodo. Ubini is an older statement than the word Igodomigodo. It's way older than, it's almost 3,000 or 4,000 years older than when we started to have relationship with the Ife people. So the concept of the word Benin coming from Ile Binu is totally absurd, and it's not historical, and it's not concrete as far our history is concerned. The word Benin came from Ubini, and Ubini as a word had existed thousands of years before we ever had any relationship with the Ile-Ife people. So the word Benin that we are now know today is coined from its original term, Ubini, meaning the place of heavenly pageantry. At one point in time, the land was referred to as Ubini because that was the name the two remaining sons of Paidu gave to our land, Efa and Emehi. All right, now, it was three groups, the Aka group, the Efa, and the Emehi group. The Aka group broke out and went to present-day Udo land. The other two, the Efa and the Emehi, came to present-day Benin land. Now, Udo would have taken precedence. Udo would have been the capital of what eventually became the Benin Empire. Why he did not become the capital is because the staff of authority of Paidu was taken by his chief priest, which we call Azamanuhe. That staff was not taken to Udo. The staff was taken to Benin. In later years of our history, 1,000 years later, the Benin had so many wars with the Udo people. The Benin always won that war because the staff of seniority, the staff of recognition, the staff that recognizes us as an ethnic group was already buried here in Benin. It's in the heart of Benin. The staff is still there to date. It's just that I'm not permitted to talk about the whereabouts of the staff. So that is why all the wars that the Udo people had with the Benin, they could not conquer the Benin, even if we were all Benin people. But they wanted the capital city to go to Udo because Udo, by right, are the first line of Paidu. The second son is Efa and the third son is Emehi. However, once it happened, the Azamanuhe honored Obai, the staff of authority, he placed it here in Benin, and that's why Benin remains undefeated with every other branches of Paidu. All right. So if Igbos or any other persons are laying claim to Paidu, all right, it therefore means at one point in history they were our children. Legitimately, every Edo man must either be of Efa. It's either you are from Efa family, you are from Emehi family, or you're from Aka family. The Lamogun, the Latose, the Lavieze, the Laigesan, they are all predominantly from two families. Two family of Ogi Boedo, the remaining two sons of Paidu, Emehi, the people who greet Lamehi, and Laidu, that is the Efa family, where you have Ugefa. All right. So basically, if Igbo claims that one of their progenitor is Idu, it therefore means that they are our children, because the only way you can be of Idu origin is for you to be of Benin origin, because Idu himself is an Edo man. The history already has connotes where he was born. All right, we know where Idu was born. We still have an Ihimi tree at Ogbe. We call it Ihimio Tedo, the oldest Ihimi in the entire Benin Kingdom. It's still existing. Is that the Ogbenalaka shrine? All right, that is the Ihimi. It was the conclave of that Ihimi. That was where Idu was born. It was from there Benin started to expand to every other what we now refer to as the 31 premium towns. It was 31 premium quarters that makes up of the original Benin, 31 of them. Ogbe was one, Alaka was one, you have Imi as two, Umundumu as four, Ugbekun. They were like 31 of them, the premium quarters, and all of them were named after Idu. Idunwe Ibioto, Idunwe Ugbekun, Umumidun, and all of that, etc., etc. So let nobody comes up with the concept that they are of Idu. All right, Idu, it's a Benin man. He was born here in Benin. He was bred here, but he was not buried here. He was buried at a place the Benin is now called Uhe. I've done over an hour documentary trying to say that Uhe is not present-day Ile-Ife in Osun State. The original Uhe that the Benins knew that Paidu was buried is at the present-day Kogi State. Because when the Portuguese people came in the 15th century, some Obas of Benin were still paying tribute to Paidu that was buried at Uhe in Kogi State. So they gave a geographical description of where the Obas of Benin used to go and where they paid tribute to. It could not have been southwest. According to the map, it said the place is northeast of Benin, and it is a town below the Great Waters. There are no Great Waters in Osun State. They were referring to River Niger, and that is like the confluence of River Niger, which is present-day Kogi State. So we know that the original Uhe, Nedowa Ayowegenende, is at the present-day Kogi State, and that's where Idu was buried. But though he was born in Benin, but he was buried there. And so, because he was buried there, the Benin people of the old, all throughout the era of the Ogisos, terminating at the era of Obaiwai the First, all Ogisos of Benin used to go to present-day Kogi State to pay pilgrimage, like Uhe was a pilgrimage home of the Edo people because of what Idu represents in the life of our Edo people as being the progenitor. So every year, the nobles and the king of Benin must go there to pay pilgrimage, who had become a pilgrimage home of the Edo people. But in order for it became, at one point in history, it became very uncomfortable for the Edo people to be traveling that distance. That is when they now invoked the spirit of Idu and brought it to Benin as a form of Eimidu. And that became a royal deity. All right, it used in the old, it used to be for every Edo man. But after the invocation, when the spirit was moved from Uhe, because at the time when Uhe was not declining, the Benins of old realized that they needed to move the spirit, the spirituality of Uhe back to the original home. And they invoked it in the form of what we now call Eimidu. So that is why Eimidu now is now prominent amongst the Edo people. All of these people who are claiming that Idu, they don't even be a Idu name. Idu Bowa, Idu Onze, Idu Eyekeme. We as enshrined the Idu concept, and we are the only people who are related to Idu that still sanctify spiritually the concept of Idu through Eimidu. Igbinidu. a lot of Benin names. None of these people bears Idu as any of their names. We still appreciate what Idu represents in our history. And that shows that he was never a foreigner in our midst. He is part of us, and every other person who is connected to him, we are very happy. All right? So every other later tribes who left Benin to form, like the Asans and all of that, they have a right to also claim Idu, because indirectly they are children of Idu. Directly, we are children of Idu. Indirectly, if Igbos now say that Idu is also part of them, that means they are indirectly children of Idu. They are directly our children, and indirectly the children of Idu, because we are the descendants of Efa Emehi, the two surviving sons of Paidu. So whoever comes from us is indirectly the son of Paidu. So whoever is claiming Idu is not wrong. But he or she must also agree that when you claim Paidu, you are also an Edo man, or you are also a breakout group from Edo group. You cannot claim Paidu and say that you are not an Edo man, because Idu himself was born in Edo land and is an Edo man. So this is a concept. It was in later years when we started having formation of kingship through the coming of the Ogisos that Ubinin eventually was not changed to Igodomigodo.
Can you tell us the story how the Igodomigodo come about? We have been dealing on the era. Now let's talk about, because after Igodomigodo now, we now enter Igodo. Please tell us about Igodomigodo before, and Ogiso just wrap it up together. Igodomigodo era and Ogiso era. Because when it comes to the last Ogiso Wudu, something happened, which this, I would say, the Benin enemies, they are trying to change some story concerning, let us deal with Igodomigodo now. We are getting there. Go ahead, my brother.
All right. The Benin, what people really did not understand is that the oldest system of government in Benin is not kingship. The oldest system of governance in Benin is gerontocracy or Jonweship. The oldest system. Since the creation of Edo, we have always, it's the Ejon, the oldest people that has always governed us. And that's why we are wise people. We have always went through the tutelage of the wisest, the oldest people in the land. We are not having a central government system. We're not having a king that presides over the land. It was never always like that. Like I said, originally there were 23 villages or quarters that makes up Benin. All right, each of these villages or quarters had an Ojonwe who presided over them. That is how it has always been from the very beginning of our history. Until a man
established that Ojonwe kind of government. Because you are saying that people are thinking it was during time of Ogiso. No, we have been Ojonwe kind of government.
There have been Ojonwe. One cannot tell whether it was Paidu that established the Ojonwe system. The Ojonwe system might even be older than Paidu himself. The Ojonwe system has always been the system that God gave to us on how we can rule ourselves, the wisdom from God. It was our own wisdom, human wisdom, that mitigated into kingship. All right? There was a very intelligent man called Igodo, who hailed from Udo, but his mother came from Ugbekun in present-day Benin. All right, he came here. And from there, his father's name, I've also heard that some Igbo people are also saying that an Igodo is also an Igbo man. There is an extant Benin history that recognizes the father, Ododu Neri Godo. Ododu, except they should also tell us that Odudu is also an Igbo word. Ododu is a man who gave birth to Igodo. Ododuemen, the heart of a matter, Ododuemen. the heart of a matter. Odudu was the father. In Benin history, when you are counting, you say, Odudu Neri Godo. That is the father of Igodo, was called Odudu. All right, he was from Udo. But his own mother, he went to stay with his grandmother who hailed from Ugbekum. At the time he was at Ugbekum, he was staying with his grandmother at Iduivioto. All right, Iduivioto is an adjacent of Ugbekum. They are both touching themselves, they share boundary. Iduivioto and Ugbekum. If you understand present-day Benin, the present-day Iduivioto are Sapele Road area. All right, in between present-day MMway to around PZ.
Yeah, these two
area. Those areas
people call Ugbekum these days, you know.
Then why Ugbekum is at the back? Why Ugbekum is at the back at Upper Sakomba? Okay. So that means Iduivioto and Ugbekum shares the same boundary. All right. Yeah. So when he was at Iduivioto, he went to build his house at Ugbekum. Then he started to nurse an ambition of having a central government. So he started to lobby. He started to convince all of this Ojonwe that instead of we to be having each quarter having an Ojonwe, why can't we come together as one, since we are one people? Why can't we come together and have one leader that will not be leading over everybody? All right. Okay. Then I said, well, it will be difficult. How do we now convince the people? Because each of these quarter have been living independently of the other quarter. How do we now bring all of these quarters together to now have one person from one of the quarter to rule over them? Well, it was a game of wisdom. So some of the elders who were also Ojonwe in their respective quarters now advised Igodo that the only way the entire land can accept him or anybody as a leader, a ruler over the entire land, we must package him as someone who came from heaven, who came from the sky, so that they can have a divine feel, they can have a divine attribute, so that the people will not, oh, God sent this man to us to come and deliver us. So they now gave him a divine attribute. All right, they now packaged him and gave him a divine attribute so that the Edo people can easily accept him as being someone who God sent himself. So they now called him Oge, not Kisore. It is a literal expression of the Edo people accept whoever that will become a central leader of them. It is not as if they came from the sky. We are not Yoruba people that their progenitor begins to fall from the sky. These were human beings, they are fathers. It was only in a way, in a bid to convince the Edo people that this man has a divine attribute so that they can accept him. So that's why they're not giving him that titular recognition as Ogisho, what we now call Ogisho. So he was able to play all of these politics and conviction. He was now projected by some elders. Then the Edo people now accepted him as a unifying leader of all of these respective villages that had separate leadership system, and they now gave him the title Ogisho. All right, because of his capacity. Don't also forget the reason at one point of history that our land was called Idu land was because of the role Idu also played during his era. Because of the role that Igodo also played during his whole era, they now also said that this land is the land of Igodo. Igodo Migodo. Named after their first unifying leader. We have had a series of leaders before, but they were not a central government. This was the first time the Benin people would be having, or the Edo people, or the Idu people will be having a central government and a central leader, and that was Igodo. All right, it was now called Igodo Migodo. All right, the land of Igodo. All right, because of what attributes Igodo had played all right, by bringing everybody together. Even while Ogiso Igodo, when he reigned, after he died, his grandson reigned, Ogisoye and all of that, the entire Benin people was still not, the entire villages that now makes up present day Benin, Benin land, was still not subservient to the rulership of the Ogisos until one of my favorites, my favorite of all the Ogisos, not one of my favorite, my favorite of all the Ogisos, called Ogiso Odoligie, who is the first warrior king of Benin, not Obaiwai the first. Ogiso Odoligie is the first warrior king of Benin, who now said that as far you are a Benin man or a woman, you must be subservient to the rulership of one true king. So that's when he started to take war to the extremities of present-day Benin land, the Benin Uronigbe War, the Benin Igwabode War, the Benin Udo War. These were three localities that were independent from the earliest 21 or so Ogisos before the era of Ogiso Odolige. So he brought Uronigbe to the Nile. He brought Igwabode. Igwabode is now extinct. I'm from the area of Igwabode in present day. Igwabode is inside the Yekoreon. The leader of that Igwabode troop was Owege. He brought Owege to his knees. Then he brought Dudo, led by Akpani Gyako. He brought them to the knees. So he was not the one who now fully unites the entire Benin land as one. All right. At that time, it was still called Megodo.
Please, you can call me now. Let our brother finish what he's saying. You can call me through video call and ask him questions. I can see calls are coming. There's no time for calling. He must finish. Let him say everything. Tell us the story, because he's the lion in this field. Me, I'm learning from him when it comes to this kind of, because what he's saying now, it is the same thing. I have my father saying things like this, because what he's saying is confirming it, because I go into politics. So what he's saying now, everybody waits. When he's done, then he can take questions. My brother,
all right, so Odolige eventually brought all of these Benin territories and unite them to an indefensible, now become an indefensible kingdom that is united by one king. All right, until after eras, until his great grandson Ogiso Wodo, who now had issues of trying, of the Kaladeran, we understand all of that story, except some persons, I might have to go through it. Some story that is so common that most times I don't like just talking about. All right, that led to the Oba era. All right, a lot of persons have been trying to say, why did the Benin people change the name Ogiso to Oba? All right, like I have said, if you those who have been following me since understand that we have changed name of the land by the prevailing circumstances. It's also how we've been changing the name of the kings. Like the earliest rulers of our land were Ojonwe. From Ojonwe it changed to Ogiso. From Ogiso it changed to Oba. All right, but it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt by all evidence from archival materials, from intelligent report, from the history, from our language, that the word Oba, it's genuinely an Edo word. It has no inclination. It has no inclination towards Yoruba. Yoruba might have a meaning for it, all right, but it's ours, all right. They could a tribe, like for example, there's a word in Igbo that is Okoro. The Benin also has an Okoro. We didn't steal it from the Igbo. I don't think the Igbo steal it from us. That's not my idea. It means prince in Benin. It means warrior in Igbo. All right? So, God, there's what we call a geological coincidence. In as far that we are all created by one God, we begin to think alike. We begin to have words, semblances of word that, and don't also forget, at Uhe, thousands of years ago, like I have established at the beginning, these ethnic groups were together in one place. So words could have been missed, words could have been copied, words could have been co-owned, all right? Words could have been co-learned, all right? It is rather unfair, stupid, and childish for one of the tribe to not feel that every word that appears in Edo that also appears in their own, all right? They own it. And that's why one of the biggest problems I have with the Yoruba people, all right? Every word that appears in Edo that also appears in Yoruba, the Yorubas has made us to realize or feel that they own it. And yet, it is never recorded in any history books anywhere, written by the Europeans, written by the local historian, that the Yoruba ever defeated Benin people in any war.
In any war, no.
We subjected half of their land, half of the entire Yoruba land was under the supremacy of the Edo people. Now, the people who we saw beaten, who we saw dismantled several times historically, how then do we not steal their words? How then they didn't copy anything from us? Yet it seems that we copy everything. That's where the rationale, I'm always questioning the authenticity of their history. All right? So, basically, the word Ogiso changed and that became Oba, and another Edo word. And it has been so to the very present day. All right? So, don't also forget that after Igodomi, after the eras of the... Okay.
So, my brother, there's something I want to ask. Now, a lot of fake history, fake stories. Sometimes people brainwashing some of our own against us these days. Sometimes what comes out from what is coming out from their mouth make you like, is this, what is happening? You know, it has never happened like this. Somebody that calls himself, he will claim they are from Edo. Every day, how to bring his people down, how to, you know, I've listened to some of this, I call them monkeys, sorry, using that word. I call them monkeys. You see this where this Igwe festival, especially this people from the east, the Igbos. He said where is their thing now? You see that Oyoyo, everywhere no Oyoyo. It is not Igbo word. You know, the Igbo boy we are saying, yeah, you know, in our Igbo we say Oyoyo. They not change the. So this is something sometimes make me laugh. Well, that is not what I said. Now, I want you to tell us, because what I know, I see Ogiso Owudu as a weak king. Sorry to say, because of what I know about him. Because he couldn't defeat this monster. What is his name?
Osoga.
Osoga. Now something happened. His only son was, you know, banished and went to Yoruba land. He became the Oduduwa there. But you see this, before I go, there is this guy who claimed he's a Benin guy. I don't know where they live. Called me one time. I believe they called you. Trying to instigate tension. Saying they are, you know, he said all kinds of nasty things, which I cannot say with my mouth. I keep stopping him. I said, you must be mad. He said they are doing this right now. They want to do that. They want to build a palace. You know, we'll say, okay. He said he was calling from Japan, something like that. I know. He wanted to do somebody like us to instigate tension, troubling. But when I came back I went to Benin about a month ago. The first thing I did is to go and check some certain place, whether they are doing anything. And discover just. But these people, what they want to do is to bring us down. So I want you to tell me what happened during that time when a Canadian left Benin. Because what I know is that this Idai, it was Idai, it was not the Oba or the so then, because there was nobody to step in. I believe Edo wanted him. He ruled Edo for over 30 years, and he wanted to give it to his son called Game. Game never ruled Edo to me. He wanted to, you know, kind of after he want to continue this kingship lineage, hand over to Game, but Edo said no. That's what I know. So I just want you to tell us that part of the story. of a Caladera that left. How this Obiame story comes in and they're using it to stop us. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Well, those are busybody rabble rousers. I know all of them. I know all of them. They have threatened my life. They have looked for me. I know all of them. They are empty because we've been asking them quite a lot of questions that they are unable to answer. The story of Ikaladeran is a very straightforward story. A story of a conspiracy against him by his stepmother. All right, stepmother, which history now called Esawo. But Esawo is not a name of a person. Esawo is a name within the palace territory given to any troublesome, wicked queen in the harem. Esawo. The first wives of the Oba of Benin in the old were called Enahe. In the old, they were called Enahe. They were not called Esawo. Esawo is not a word for any queen, any wife of the Oba of Benin that is wicked, that is stubborn, or generally what is not good is ascribed to that queen. They will refer to her within the harem as Esawo. She was indeed very wicked. All right. She didn't give birth to a son, and she was the first wife of Ogiso Owodo. So she had to orchestrate a plan to ensure that when they went to see the seer had instructed that before Ogiso Owodo can ever give birth, all right, the wicked woman has to be killed. All right. She out of what I would call divine providence, she was part of the emissaries that followed some of the chiefs to go and inquire what was the problem, while Ogiso Owodo was not giving birth to other sons outside the Caladera. So she was preview to that statement, that the statement of fact or the oracular divination that the wicked woman in the harem must be killed. She was a witch and she has to be killed. So she was privy to hear what was spoken against her. So on their way back to Benin, she had to bribe the chiefs to turn the verdict, to turn the right oracular divination around by saying that until the only son of Ogiso Owodo killed, he will never be able to give birth to other sons. Like you rightly said, Ogiso Owodo was a very weak Oba to have allowed his only son, the heir apparent, to be sacrificed. However, like the providence, like the divination, like what God has arranged, all right, he was spared by the executioners. The people who were supposed to kill him, they spared him. The place they spared him is still in existence today. I go to that community almost every day. It's called Urohoho. Instead of killing him, they killed the Ohoho, the fowl, and used the blood to tell the father that he was killed. Or at that place is called Urohoho, named after that incident that transpired against the Caladeran. So when people are saying that the Caladeran, when some liars are saying that the Caladeran never existed, they should come to Benin. All the trademarks, all of the places that the Caladeran got to, and now we establish all of those places, the trademark is still there to date. Urohoho is a community still in existence to date called Urohoho. It's on the map, the Google map. People can always search Urohoho. So he was spared. He ran, but he was told never to return back by the executioner because the penalty of going against what the Ogiso had instructed is death. So they had to plead that he should never ever return. So that is why he's called self-exiled. The Benin was not, the king did not tell him to go on exile. He only instructed that he should be killed. He was himself that went on the exile himself that's why rightly our self-exiled prince. All right, it was a decision he took upon himself never to return Benin out of the utterance or out of the plea of the executioner. So he begins to meander until he got to a place now called Ugoton. He established Ugoton, and he was a worshipper of Olokun deity. So he established the Olokun deity at Ugoton. All right. Eventually, he left Ugoton and he went first to Okada. We have all of the maps. From Okada, he went to Erua. He went to also establish a village now called Erua at present Wunde. From Erua, he now went to Kogi State. It's a story that I don't like talking about because we are planning on doing a documentary that will shut everything up. Ikaladeran did not go to Ife at first. He went to Uhe at first. He went to Kogi State. All right? The Gala people have a documented history of Ikaladeran coming to Kogi State. It was from Kogi that he left before going to present-day Osun State. I did a documentary about that. I explained the process. He was the one who took the glory of Paidu to present-day Ile-Ife. All right? Where the earliest Benin historians now mistook Uhe for Ile-Ife. Uhe is different from Ile-Ife. Ile-Ife is at Osun State. Uhe is at Ile-Ife, Ife, or Ufe, Ife. It's still an existing place in the Gala land in Kogi State till date. All right? It's still an existing place in Kogi State till date. So Ikaladeran went to Kogi State. It was from Kogi State he now went to him. He meant that I went to Osun State before he was not recognized by the Yorubas as their king, as Oduduwa. All right, the context is we had a prince who left here and became a king over there. And when he left, there was now a vacuum of leadership. Ogiso Wodo died, all right? And the chiefs were aware that Ikaladeran did not die, actually. They were aware. So they tried to retrieve Ikaladeran. Ikaladeran refused to return. After Ogiso Wodo died, the Benin people became a people that had no king. At that almost time, that was when the monster of Shogun began to attack and kill people at the Ogiso market, which was eventually now named Agbado. Agbado, Agbare, when you go to the Ogiso market together, they don't return. So Edona Agbadueki, Agbare. So that's when the market at Akpakpaba, present-day Akpakpaba, changed from its original word, which was Ogiso market, to Ekiogiso to Ekiagbado, all right, or Agbado market. So the man who was from Eyamugie, called Evian, a Benin man, he was a blacksmith, was able to provide solution to defeat that monster. So he now became very prominent, remarkable figure. So the elders, the kingmakers, headed by Olia, realized that on the temporary basis, we have to have an administrator who will head forth the kingdom until they were able to resolve the crisis of kingship. So that is when they now asked Evian to be an Edai, an administrator, not as a king of Yoba or Yoba. All right? Not as a king, but as an administrator. So he now became a powerful administrator. Towards his twilight, he was power voracious. Towards his twilight, he had 3 sons. He wanted one of his sons to become after him. So that is when the kingmaker has now reminded him, king, you are just an administrator. Ordinarily, when you die, they can decide to choose the administrator. But he now said, he insisted, because he had already had sway in this land for more than 50 years. He had already had disciples. He already had followership. He already had fans. He had followers and all of that. So he, to an extent, was already controlling a bigger part of the kingdom. So he had he had bigger stake even than the kingmakers. Now the kingmakers, understanding that he cannot be wrestled because of his fame, of his popularity in Benin Kingdom, instead they now decided that the only one person that can wrestle that seat from him is the rightful owner. So that is when they went to Ife direct. The Benins did not go to any land. They went straight to Ife. That means they knew of all you know how many hundreds of kilometers you have to pass through. The journey will approximately take you about 5 weeks from Benin to get to Ife by trekking with all of those bush paths. They did not stop anywhere with every other communities that were around, that were very close to Benin, but they went straight to Ile-Ife because they already knew that the heir apparent, Ikaladeran, was at Ile-Ife. So on getting there, obviously, he was already an old man, all right? At the time he left Benin was in his mid-20s. Now, almost about 60 years later, he could have been over 80 at that time when the Benin chiefs went to meet him, led by Olia Awoma, led by emissaries. And when they got there, he was able to recognize them. They were able to converse. Don't forget, before then, there's no history that is written or documented that the Benin people have ever had relationship with the Yoruba people, the Ife people. So when they got to Ife, how were they able to establish conversation with the Oduduwa? They had a language of conversation. They had a language that they spoke with Oduduwa that convinced Oduduwa that he had. Oduduwa just did not give them any of his sons. He gave them his favorite because he knew where he came from. He knew what Oromiya was. He knew that Oromiya was high-handed enough, was a soldier like him, was brave enough to be able to curtail the excesses of his people because he knows how stubborn that we are in terms of containing us. So he had to give them his best. No father gives his best child to a foreigner. No father gives his best child to a foreigner. He gave his best of his children to what the Yorubas now call foreigners. Obviously, you and I know that he gave his best child to his ancestral home. And that's how Oromiyan came to Benin. All right. When Oromiyan got to Benin, Evian had already died. Evian had already died. It was not Evian's second son, Erebo, that was now administering, not as a king. All right. Now, you must understand an event that happened 300 years earlier. That is imperative. That event that happened 300 years earlier is the only reason why I can never believe the lies of the Ogiamien people. It is very imperative. I always tell Benin people who always come for my historical lecture, it is one imperative. There was an oath that was taken by Ogiso Oriagba. There was an oath that was taken by Ogiso Oriagba and the 5 elders. That oath is the first promulgated law of kingship in Benin during the eras of the Ogisos. And that oath was that only the son of Ogiso that must be an Ogiso. Only. And it is imperative.
Wait a minute.
And
wait, please. You that is calling me on phone, you have been calling. You can't call on phone. The phone you are calling now is what I'm using. The number is to call through WhatsApp or call us through video call. We can bring you in. If you don't want to call through video call, you can still send us call us here and we will bring you in. If you can't do that, call your WhatsApp. That number, you can call through WhatsApp, but you can't call direct or call through video call. If you want to really ask our brother here any question, through video call, he will answer you. Or through WhatsApp, you can't call direct number because I'm using the phone. So no need of calling. We can pick it. So my brother, you can continue.
all right, like I was saying, there was an oath that was taken by Ogiso Oriagba and the 5 elders. The oath of primogeniture, the oath of the succession, 7 laws of the land were agreed upon. The first, that it is only the son of the Oba, or his next of the Ogiso, or the next of kin, that must be crowned by Olia and his group members. All right? That was the law.
Continue. My brother, continue. I can hear you. Yeah, okay. Let it continue. Okay. You have to finish what you're saying.
That was the law. That was the law that was ensured that on no account should these 5 elders ever allow someone who is not of the blue blood to ever sit on the ancient thrones of the Ogisos. So imperatively, the 5 elders had just one responsibility: to ensure that only a true royalty can sit on that throne. And that is why, and without the Olia, no Ogiso is crowned in Benin. And without the Olia, no Oba is also crowned in Benin till date. So when Evian, the imposter, when he knew of the strength of Olia, he went to create his own Olia, because he knew that the original Olia will never ascend. He will never agree for any of his children to be crowned. He made his first son an Olia and made his second son to take leadership from him. That is one fact that the Benin people will know. Why did the Ogiame people create their own Olia? If they had a legitimate claimacy to the throne, like they have always been saying, why did they create their own Olia? Why didn't they wait for the Olia who had been existing for more than 1,000 years? After Olia did not also come from Yoruba land. Olia has always been part since the time of the Ogisos in Benin. Why didn't they convince the Olia to crown them? Instead, they created their Olia. And point number 2, that people don't tend to give, they are not always very open to get, is the greetings establishes your lineage. This same Ogiame people who claims absolute rights to the throne, they don't greet the greetings of the Ogisos. They greet Laire. And Laire is the greeting of one of the 5 elders. In short, the 5th amongst the 5, which is Eho Lonire. They greet Laire. And that is the same greeting that the Ogiame greet. That shows clearly that the Ogiame people came from the Eho Lonire's family. And they have no blue blood flowing through their vein. And that is why the elders of the land, at what point in history, never accepted their claimacy to the throne. Well, I think I don't like talking I'll pause here for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. You are trying, you are really trying, you know. My brother that just come in, you want to ask this, my brother, any question, you are very free. Introduce yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, the viewers. I present Mr. Wounded Civilian and Mr. Izoduwa Imasuen. Thank you very much for this brief lecture. You've lectured us.
My brother, raise your voice a little bit. Raise your voice a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay. We are not understanding it before, but now we say it, and most of us have understand it. But I'm trying to know something, Mr. Izoduwa, because he